So without further ado, we're going to start and have the campers come up and do a few songs and get the adrenaline flowing. Come on up.
Hey, there's a good sign. It's going to be a good night because I immediately walked out here and my thumb pick fell off my hand. I think enough of us are here to start this. Hey. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, every day, every day. I'm gonna let my little light shine. All right. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, every day, every day. Gonna let my little light shine. On Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday, give me the power divine, just to let my little light shine. All right, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, every day, every day. Gonna let my little light shine. On Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday, give me the power divine, just to let my little light shine. All right. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, every day, every day. Gonna let my little light shine. Yeah, that was a good one. And if you like that one, you might like this.
All right.
How does this go now?
What's the name?
Come on, George, you know how it goes. It's one of those. Hold on, I got it. I just remembered it. Buddy better get on down the line. Buddy better get on down the line. Here comes 97, rumbling in on time. Buddy, this is 97 at your back. Got a ton of cold poured down the stack. Here comes 97, rolling down the track. Hey, hey, a pretty baby, hey, hey. Hey, hey, now don't get in my way. I'm in
Boy, the juices are still flowing. This is great. Our first camper is John Bowles. What can you say about John that he hasn't already said about himself? He tells us that he lives, wow, in Alpharetta, Georgia, with his beautiful wife, Jody, who he claims is not as tall as she looks. John owns a food sales company that sells mayonnaise, cheese, eggs, pickles, and other healthy foods to the refrigerated food industry. Healthy? No walnuts, none of that kind of stuff. Well, but he's very successful at it, apparently. And this is John's sixth camp in a row. He surprises everybody every year because when he submits his application and a deposit, he does it under an alias. And he wonders why Bob Shane looks at him when he arrives. And Bob gets scared. John fell in love with the trio back in 1959, he says, when the Hungry Eye album came out. And he's seen every configuration of the trio except the Roger Gamble group. You missed a good one. The current group is his all-time favorite, however. Now, he says that fully knowing that when he comes out here, he's with two of the current members. So, he's lying. All right. He says, to be honest, he gets a kick out of all this music, but he's certainly getting a little tired of it after 6 years. So we'll see if we invite him back next year. In April, John and Neil Spivey, they hosted a mini camp, which I think was the third year in a row they've done that at his home in Georgia. Beautiful. I've not been invited to it. But if you want to come, John, next year, maybe we can have an exchange program. But all kidding aside, I understand it's a great turnout, and they have 25 to 30 people. And all of the folks that have known each other through this whole fantasy camp episode experience with the Bloodliners and members of our camp. So it's a great tribute to what we all do here. And the love for this music, as Nick Reynolds said, is all about the music. Would you please welcome John Bowles.
Jody will let you know that the 25 to 30 turned into 62 that we had this year. And we had a blast, an absolute blast. And I think it's going to be around the 21st of April next year, so Neil and I would love to have you. There'll be an announcement coming out on Facebook. Real quickly, I started playing banjo about a year and a half ago when I bought a banjo from Dennis Ray, an extra long neck. I picked this banjo up late last night. It belonged to a friend of a lot of us here, and it belonged to Dan Yount. And you know Dan Yount is facing some challenges. And as John would say, he's facing them pretty up and walking good. And we saw him here this week. He's not with us tonight, but he left a part of himself with us, and I'm the proud owner of this banjo that he said he couldn't play anymore. I never could play one. And someday I'll leave it to my daughter who'll say, what the heck is that? But anyway, I am thrilled, and it's an honor to have it. Now, enough of that. I do want to offer an apology to get started to everyone here. The audience, I'm sorry. To the staff, I am so sorry. And to George and Rick, all right, I did not make practice today. And it's imperative that we practice. So we're going to be doing this song together for the first time tonight. And you get to hear it. And there's no excuse in not showing up for practice. But I do have a reason. And I wanted to tell you, the reason I didn't show up, George, was I decided to take a shower right before I came over. And it must have been the time of day when there's not a lot of water usage at the resort. And the water pressure was so strong, it pinned me against the wall. And I couldn't get loose. And if the man next door hadn't flushed the toilet, I might still be there. I'm sorry. This is about the escape of old John Webb. 9 men to guard the British rank and 5 to watch the town above, and 2 to stand at either hand, and 1 to let Bill Taylor out. He had 80 weight of Spanish iron between his neck bone and his knee. Billy picked Johnny up under his arm and lugged him away quite manfully. And Billy broke locks and Billy broke bolts and Billy broke all that he can nigh, until he came to the dungeon door, and that he broke right hand to lie. So they stole him a horse and away they'd ride. Who but they rode gallantly, until they came to the river bank, to the river running wild and free. The British were coming close on their heels, and who but they stood fearfully. Well, Billy picked Johnny up on his back and carried him over it easily. And Billy broke locks and Billy broke bolts and Billy broke all that he can nigh, until they came to the dungeon door, and that he broke right hand to lie. So they called at the inn for a room to dance, and who but they danced merrily. But the very best dancer among them all was old John Webb, who was just set free.
Next up, all the way from Demorest, New Jersey, is second-year camper Bob Doherty. He is a retired high school history teacher, has 3 children, 6 grandkids who keep him hopping, he says. Last year, his lovely bride Donna surprised him with a trip to fantasy camp as a 70th birthday present. And I'm thinking this might be the 71st birthday present, but he's here again tonight. He's here again tonight. He's played the banjo since his college days in the mid-'60s, when he was influenced by the music and harmony of the Kingston Trio. Wow, that's a Kingston Trio, yeah. He started an Irish, and he currently plays in an Irish folk singing group called the Tipsy Rovers. They play at various New Jersey Irish pubs and private parties, and he's going to do one of my favorite Kingston Trio songs, Rider. Bob Doherty.
somewhere in there. Yeah, good.
Is that good?
Yeah, sure.
Let's make sure we're in the same universe here. Oh, what luck.
All right, one second. Let me just get this a little closer.
That-
Whoops, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna try to do this one here.
Count us off.
Okay, you guys go. Well, I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone. Yeah, I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone. Gonna miss your daddy rolling in your arms. Well, the sun gonna shine on my back porch someday. Said that sun gonna shine on my back porch someday. Then the wind from the river gonna blow all my troubles away. Yeah, I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone. Yeah, I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss your daddy rolling in your arms. Well, I ain't got a nickel, no, I ain't got a lousy dime. No, I ain't got a nickel, no, I ain't got a lousy dime. But I got a long way to go to the end of my time. Yeah, I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone. Oh, you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone. Gonna miss your daddy rolling in your arms.
Not bad.
Takes a
Hard that it would make a long time man feel bad. It takes a hard-hearted woman make a long time man feel bad. 'Cause it makes him remember the long hard road that he's had. And I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone. Yeah, I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone. Gonna miss your daddy rolling in your arms. Well, I know you right are gonna miss me when I'm gone.
Okay. Thank you.
This thing was coming up.
That's all right. You lose more picks that way.
That's some exciting stuff. I love that song. Everybody always, well, most audiences stand at the end of that, but okay, you guys didn't. Some of the younger audiences, that's Not that you're old. Our next camper is from Oklahoma, and at one time she was a journalist and an arts writer for the Tulsa Tribune. She joins quite a hefty list of women who've been camper. That has a poor choice of words. A long list would be fine. A long list of women we've had as campers, and this is her second time here. She plays the auto harp, which is an unusual instrument for camp. I think I'm pretty sure she's the only one that has played the auto harp, and the history of that instrument is, well, we all remember when we were younger, the manual transmission harp, and that had a clutch, and it fell out of favor till somebody invented the auto harp. And so you just plug that baby in, stick the key, and you're all set. She is now a music teacher. That's her second career that has developed just recently. But this is interesting. She was actually married to, get this, Pete Seeger, Tom Paxton, Brian Bowers, and Peter, Paul, and Mary. Mary just for a half week because it was dark in the church. And well, I'm sorry, that's the wrong paragraph. She interviewed those people. She's not that old. It'd be impossible. Besides, Pete Seeger was married for a long time, so it is ridiculous. But she is going to sing. Last night, I had the strangest dream, and, well, I'll tell you about that later. But here she is, Caroline Johnson.
Thank you, I think. Ed McCurdy wrote this song in 1950. Since it has been translated into 76 languages. In 1989, school children on the east side of the Berlin Wall sang this song. 89. Yes?
She only needs one mic, that's all I'm telling you. Whatever you say. They're all the same level.
Is that good or bad?
We get stereo.
It's all at the same level.
Yeah.
Anyway. The school children sang this song as the Berlin Wall was dismantled. And so I was talking to my boyfriend, Dave O'Donnell. Well, that's another story. And I was saying, I know I'm really idealistic, and I love these anti-war songs, and I believe in them. And he said, yeah, well, we have to keep singing these songs because they're songs of hope. So would you all please sing it with us? I'm ready. Last night I had the strangest dream I ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed I saw a mighty room. The room was filled with men, and the Last night I had the strangest dream I'd ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. Thank you.
Our next camper wins the award for shortest travel distance. He lives less than a mile from the resort. Alan Tuft was born in Washington, D.C., but he basically grew up in western Pennsylvania. When he was 15 years old, he heard the Kingston Trio for the first time while riding around in his uncle's 1956 Ford. Where have all the flowers gone? And that just hooked him. His older sister came home from college a couple of years later with a guitar playing, folk singing New Yorker, and Alan thought, and this is a quote, it's what they, what a wonderful way to seduce women, unquote. So he promptly bought a $59.95 guitar and proceeded to learn to play and sing Tom Dooley. That's one of your harder folk songs. He must have had money because his guitar was $59.95. Everybody else was buying like $15 Silvertones. When he was a senior in high school, he attended his first concert, Joan Baez and Bob Dylan. Pretty good double bill there. Gave him the spark to learn as many songs as he could, and he went to Tarkio College. Where is that? Missouri? Tarkio College, sang at local coffee houses, school assemblies. I didn't know you had assemblies in college. And other events, and while just hanging with friends in the dorm. Kingston Trio came to Tarkio his freshman year and left him totally in awe. He still has a broken pick that was dropped on stage by the one and only, guess who? Bob Shane. He still has the pick. Alan, I think if you play your cards right, you can get like an unbroken pick from Bob, if you ask him nicely. And a year later, he had the pleasure of hearing the trio again at Iowa State University. About that time, one of his friends decided to take up classical guitar, so he sold Alan his Martin D21. Again, trust me, it's a good guitar. For $200, and he still has it. And he always looked forward to the start of the fall semester, so he had a couple of friends who lived in New York City, so he always was excited for the start of fall semester so that he could hear all the stories from his friends coming back from New York City, visits to Greenwich Village, and they saw many of Carolyn Johnson's ex-husbands, Bob Dylan, Peter, Paul, and Mary, John Hartford, Eric Anderson, Phil Oakes, Tom Paxton. But one of those friends and roommates is a fellow named John Monteleone, who, for guitar players, he is one of the finest builders of archtop guitars, so personal friend of Alan Tuft. Summer of 1969 turned out to be the end of playing and singing the folk songs because he liked to eat. He was forced to get a job. But he said 1969 wasn't a totally bad year because the only lottery he ever won happened that year. It was the first USA draft lottery. It's the only lottery he ever won. He had number 265. Bastard, I had 99. And he was able to begin graduate school, of course, because he didn't have to go. Graduate school in psychology at the University of Arkansas, morphed into marriage, 7 years of work in community mental health, 20 years of private practice as a psychologist, 2 children, and 18 years of work in healthcare administration. Fast forward. At age 65, he said, well, let me pick up my guitar again and start playing. So basically, he started playing guitar again. One thing led to another, and he started going out to jams. He went to gyms, he learned more. So he's jamming every night of the week, going to open mics and playing, and that's how you do it. But this is age 65. He decided to start doing that. Good for him. Now lives in Scottsdale, as I mentioned, less than a mile from camp, with his wife of 2 years, Gina O'Brien. He performs at open mics in the Phoenix area and has also performed at Flagstaff, Prescott, and Glendale, Arizona folk festivals. Fellow camper Caroline Johnson, the one with all the ex-husbands, arranged for him to play in an event celebrating Woody Guthrie and the Kingston Trio in Tulsa in March of this year at the Woody Guthrie Museum. So there you go. But the best gift, Alan says, finishing up here, this is long biography here. The best gift that Alan has been able to give music was sponsoring 2 sold-out Kruger Brothers concerts at the Musical Instrument Museum in Scottsdale on February 13th, 2015. Alan Tuft.
I thought it was somebody else he was talking about, all that stuff, you know.
I didn't hear anything he said, so I'll have to live with the insults. One of my other trio members, Caroline Johnson, she's not very tall, but she gave me some extra strings off her auto harp to put on this guitar. I don't remember when Time to Think came out, but it has probably been my favorite Kingston Trio album. And I've been wanting to play this song with some people that actually knew how to play it for 50 plus years, and here we are.
You think it's going to be that way tonight?
He was telling me how good you are. So, anyway, they did say I grew up around Pittsburgh. It was a basic steel industry town at the time. One of the reasons that Pittsburgh developed was because there was lots of coal in the ground in southwestern Pennsylvania and also in West Virginia and Ohio. And just every year there were stories of explosions and fires and strikes and other difficulties in the mines. Sometimes we forget whose shoulders we stand on, but the next time you turn on the light switch, think of this guy. Traveling down that coal town road, listen to my rubber tires whine. It's goodbye to Buckeye and White Sycamore, I'm leaving you behind. Well, I've been a coal miner all my life, laying down tracks in the hole. Got a back like an ironwood, hit by the wind, blood veins blue as the coal. Blood veins blue as the coal. Somebody say that's a strange tattoo that you have on the side of your head. I say that's the blueprint left by the coal. A little more and I'd been dead. Well, I love the rumble and I love the roar, and I love the cool of the state. And it's on down the new road, looking for a job. The traveling and looking I hate. The traveling and looking I hate. I stood for the union and I walked in line. I fought against the company. I stood for the UMW of A. Now who's gonna stand for me? Well, I got no house and I got no job. I just got a worried soul. And the little tattoo on the side of my head, left by the number 9 pole. Left by the number 9 pole. Someday when I'm dead and gone to heaven, the land of my dreams. I won't have to worry on losing my job, on bad times and big machines. I ain't gonna pay my money away for dues or hospital plans. I'm gonna pick coal where the blue heavens roll and sing with the angel band. I ain't gonna pay my money away for dues or hospital plans. I'm gonna pick coal where the blue heavens roll, sing with the angel band.
We're going to have a guy come out here momentarily who turned 72 yesterday. His name is Tony Lay, and he has been a camper more than anybody else has ever been a camper. And he's only 72, so got many more years. And by being the longest camper, he's got the nicest tent. It's right over by Remington's. It's a, it's 4-bedroom. He said he started playing 4-string guitar early on, and he became a master playing 4-string guitar. Now he's got a nice 6-string, but he plays it like a 4-string. It's not quite as good as most 6-string players, but that's all right. That's the majority of the strings that count. He's from either Winder or Winder, Georgia. Winder. You're not going to say anything? Winder. We really care about that. Here's a really nice quote, and this is an actual quote from him. He recently was married. And he's got a beautiful wife, and it says, this is his quote, "It's a hard life I've led, but for Barbara, I'll make any sacrifice." And that's really a nice quote. But, Tony was sitting in back of me at Remington's the other night when I was saying that to my wife, so I'm not sure if it's really original. It's verbatim, honest to God. Were you writing on a napkin over there? He didn't think that up himself. Tony's if you haven't seen him before, he's a gorgeous man. He really is. And he's so handsome that he was actually, he was a shoe model for many years. So, he said he wants to thank Bob and Bobby for their friendship, and he thanks them for the long-term friendship, and particularly Bob's, and he says they have no idea what they have meant to him. And I talked to Bob earlier today, and he has no idea who Tony Lay is. He's going to sing South Wind, which has never been done at camp, a great song, and he's a great guy, he really is. Tony Lay.
You notice that after each song, we all go over and shake Paul's hand. And the reason we do, we're having to slip him $20 because that's the only way he would agree to play for us. Because sometimes he leaves the stage, and then Dave Batty comes up and does it for a quarter. So, is John August Lee in the audience? Okay. John August Lee told me the best story, one of the best stories I've ever heard, and it's true, or else he's a liar. But his mom decided in her later years that she wanted to take up painting. So she painted this picture, and I can't wait to meet his mother if she's still on this earth, because she's got to be one swinging chick. She painted this picture, and in it was a fish, which turned out to be a mackerel, with a halo around it. And also in the portrait was a donkey sitting on a tomato. And I thought that alone was enough to render it to the Louvre or someplace. But then underneath, then she titled it, "Holy Mackerel, look at the ass on that tomato." And if you want to find out more about his mother, just talk to John, because he's here tonight. I hope so. We're working. This is a work in progress up here. So, Josh Reynolds, everybody. You folks in the front rows, don't let the glare bother you. Well, I know I don't have to be told that north wind is chilly and cold. Well, I know. Far from the north when I ran, now I'm a lost and lonely man. Well, I know. Had a little girl and she left me. Had a little girl but she left me. Had a little girl but she left me. Well, I know. She took my love and left me the rain, left me the sorrow and all of the pain. Well, I know. She took my love and left me torn. Now I'm lonely and forlorn. Well, I know. All of my love had done left me. All of my love had done left me. All of my love had done left me. Well, I know. She said someday she'd return if the sun should freeze or the earth should burn. Well, I know. But now she's gone and in the sky, the wind alone can hear me cry. Well, I know. Had a little girl but she left me. Had a little girl but she left me. Had a little girl but she left me. Well, I know.
Our next camper is Alan Hollister. This is Alan's 10th year with us. Alan grew up in the Washington, D.C. area and started performing Kingston Trio songs around 1960 in a wannabe group called the Kingsmen. And I'm sure we can all relate to that because we were all in wannabe groups. but most of us had the common sense to quit and get a real job. Alan continued his musical interest, he says, through college, graduate, and medical school, and a career in medical research by playing in bands, did a trombone, in orchestras when he played bass, and classical guitar by singing in folk groups, church choirs, and community choruses. Very active in his younger days. He's married to his wife, Susan, for 45 years, has 2 grown children, Rebecca and Nathan. And after 18 years in academia and 15 years in pharmaceutical research, Alan finally retired in 2012. He now lives in Durham, North Carolina, with his wife and 2 cats, Bella and Bartok. I like Bella because I have a granddaughter named Bella, and who's here for the first time to witness all this. And she said to me, she says, you must introduce Alan because I get the chance to mention Bella. He named his cat very appropriately. In addition to consulting on drug research and clinical medicine and medical legal issues, Alan enjoys music, astronomy, home brewing, travel, building things, and volunteering. Sounds like he's more active in retirement than he was before. Over the past 20 years, Alan has occasionally gotten together with college classmate Tom O'Donnell, who's here tonight, and they sang in karaoke bars, and open mic, local bars, folk groups, sing-arounds, and occasionally full performances, and I'm sure they were good. He's even sung at John Bowles minicamp, but to do it, he had to pay John. At George Grove's urging, Alan met the Kruger brothers and regularly attends their academy, where he's learning how to flat pick. Alan is returning for his 10th camp, as I mentioned, and he still vows to sing every Kingston Trio song in JD's. I think he's up to 68 by now. Would you please welcome Alan Hollister to sing early in the morning.
Gee, only 68? Gosh, we probably sing that many before the bar closes every night, right? This is a wonderful song by Randy Starr and Dick Wolf. You got it right. I got it right, yes, I did. You see all these campers up here and will sometimes make mistakes by forgetting the words or missing chords and all that sort of stuff. I was just back here and Bob Shane was going over some chords, and I said, that sounds like scotch and soda. Are you still trying to work out the chords to that? He said, yep. All right, this is early in the morning.
Why don't you give me the click up front and I'll join you.
All right. I remember Grandpa telling me that I was born as the sun was coming up early in the morning. Told me I was born early in the morning. When you lift your eyes and see the sun rising on the far horizon, early in the morning, early in the morning. It was early in the day when I set out to roam, kissed my love and went to seek my fortune far from home. I set out to roam, far away from home. When you lift your eyes and see the sun rising on the far horizon, early in the morning, early in the morning. But today when I awoke, I missed my darling so. Gotta have her by my side forevermore, I know. Need my darling so, evermore I know. When you lift your eyes and see the sun rising on the far horizon, early in the morning, early in the morning. So tomorrow I'll be leaving at the break of day. Gonna hurry to my love, and there I'll always stay. At the break of day, there I'll always stay. When you lift your eyes and see the sun rising on the far horizon, early in the morning, early in the morning, early in the morning.
Forgot, sorry. Tom O'Donnell is an 11-time camper. I did indeed. Is retired, and he and his lovely wife Kathy spend late fall and winter in Morgantown, West Virginia, a garden spot. In spring, summer, and early fall, they live in Rothbury, England, about 20 miles from Scotland and 2 hours from where Tom Craig lives. Tom is a former camper and a current bloodliner who's here tonight. And he has this in his bio, and he knows we're going to read it here, so everybody is invited to visit. With great music, good beer, and better whiskey is a promise. That's what he said. So we kind of call him Mr. International around here. Since arriving in England in 2013, he's been performing regularly throughout the north of England, additional gigs in Killarney, Ireland, Borgo d'Avalle, Italy, Zurich, Switzerland, and in the U.S., he performs regularly in West Virginia, Maryland, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and North Carolina. The guy's a busy guy since he retired. And then he goes right into, after a short failed career as a folk singer, well, he's making up for that now, that's for sure. In the 1960s, he became a college professor at Transylvania University, where, is what he says, most of the courses were taught at night. Although not prejudiced against blood-sucking living dead, he couldn't stand the late nights, so he became a blood-sucking lawyer instead. Normally it's a day job, but night courts are plentiful, he says. Over the last 30 years, he has lived in Washington, D.C., Paris, Zurich, there's Zurich again. In fact, he was an official Gnome of Zurich, Gnome of Zurich for over a decade. Now that he's retired, he's entered a 12-step program for recovering attorneys. We have so many retired attorneys here, we could have our own chapter of recovering attorneys. His first camp was in 2006, and at his second camp, he formed together with Alan Hollister, who you just saw, his college classmate, a group called the Mighty Windbreakers, which gives new meaning to the term odiferous. This year, the Windbreakers again include Dave O'Donnell, who you will see in just a minute, so I guess it's the last three are the Mighty Windbreakers. Tom's better looking and more talented son. Well, I second that. This is the fourth configuration of the Mighty Windbreakers. He's just released his 8th album, Rothbury in the Fall. That's the town he's in England. It's Rothbury in the Fall. I think he wrote the song, the title song. It is, for those interested, it is for sale in the lobby at the table on that side as you go out. I'm not sure how much it is, but they'll tell you at the table. Kathy, Tom's wife of 43 years, Kathy, we mentioned her earlier. She's home in England. She came out here once in 2013 and concluded that no sane person comes to Scottsdale in August. But as we know, sanity is highly overrated. Tom O'Donnell.
Well, last year, there was some comment about my wife not coming, and they didn't accept the excuse. And they checked, and they found out about Pierre, the next door neighbor. So this year, to guard myself and my 43-year marriage, I sent her off to do archaeology digging at Hadrian's Wall. She is spending 2 weeks cleaning dirt off of Roman ceramics. You know, she loves it. She thinks it's the best thing in the world, and as long as Pierre doesn't get down there, I'm happy too. Anyway, I'd like to just give a shout out. I have my cousins here, a lot of them, and it's wonderful. Campus allowed me to reattach with them because they live here in the area. And one in particular, Andrew, who is now 10, I believe this is his 6th time to attend camp. And
He's an old timer.
so one of these days he's going to be up here on stage singing with me. Okay, we're going to do a lovely John Stewart song called Those Who Are Wise from one of the last of the Decca albums. It's one I've loved for a long time, and it's quite a pleasure to be up here with George and Rick playing this. So, George, count us in.
4.
You know, you try to be serious up here, and it's impossible.
To sit in the shade of an old cedar tree, and I dream of the days, what they're holding for me, and all those should know who gaze at the sky. It's for those who are wise, only those who are wise. And the west winds would blow, they'd be singing to me. They'd say, look at you out yonder, as far as you can see. But all those should know who gaze at the sky. It's for those who are wise, only those who are wise. And the years went their way as the good years will go, and my dreams linger on in the hills of my home. But young men should know who gaze at the sky. It is you who are wise, only you who are wise. I used to sit in the shade of an old cedar tree. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
The next entertainer that you will be edified by, if that's possible, is Tom's son, Ray Charles. And no, I'm sorry. He's going to do a Ray Charles song. But Tom's son, Dave, has been here twice as a camper. But prior to that, he came with his dad for 6 years straight. And the only year that he missed, he was passing the bar, and he said, that's a mistake he no longer makes. He always goes in for a beer now. So that's his joke. You know, that was right in here. He he's clerking for a judge in Washington County, Maryland now. And after here's what he did in college. He majored in political science, art history, beer, and rooting for the Packers. And after college, Dave lived in Hong Kong, and for a year he served as head color coordinator for the Hong Kong Dodgeball League, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, he wasn't the color coordinator, he was a color commentator. They had trouble filling that coordinator job in Hong Kong. But he says when he's not singing with his father, Dave sings in the shower with a local church's choir. What kind of a church would that be? Probably pretty fun church. But he's a great kid, and Tom can be proud of him. I'm sure he is, because I'm proud of my son too. He's accomplished a lot of things. Dave O'Donnell.
Well, I want to point out I am color coordinated: blue shoes, blue pants, blue belt, and a blue shirt. I prepared a different song that I'm going to sing here tonight, but then after hearing Carolyn Johnson let the cat out of the bag about our relationship, I thought I should change gears and sing this song so you all know what's going on. Are you ready? Yeah. We should. Are you ready?
No.
I kind of... If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. Say you better leave my woman alone. Well, I know you are a playboy and you got your women all over town. But listen, buddy, if you ever sweet talk my little girl, I'm gonna lay your body down. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. Say you better leave my woman alone. Well, I know you got your money and you got a new convertible too. But if I ever see my little girl in your little car, I'm gonna do some work on you. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. Say you better leave my woman alone. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. Say you better leave my woman alone. Well, I don't believe in trouble, so I don't want to start a fight. So if you take heed and stay away from my little girl, well, everything will be alright. And if you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. If you don't want, you don't have to get in trouble. Say, you better leave my woman alone.
Terrific, I think. Hey, wow. No one's ever done that song before here. For those of you who were here last night, and if you're not, you missed a really good act called The Lion Sons, and three middle-aged gentlemen, not old-timers like the rest of us, headed by our dear friend Josh Reynolds, Nick's son. And along with Mike Marvin and Tim Grolinson, they did two songs. They're really terrific. So would you please welcome Josh Reynolds.
Thank you very much. I got nothing. I got nothing. Do you believe that? You're smarter than I look. So I'm going to tell you a little story. In about, I think it was 1967, 68, towards the end of the run of the 10 years, it was the Stewart Trio, and my mom took me up to Harris Tahoe because they were doing a long gig up there at Harris. And I remember, this is my first vivid memory of the real trio thing. And the trio was about ready to go on. We walked into the back of a big room, and I was 7 years old. And the orchestra they had an orchestra, struck up the opening chords of Tom Dooley, and dun 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 dun. Please welcome the Kingston Trio. They come running out. They jump into a song. And I was just, and I looked up at my mom and I said, "Can I touch him?" I'd never. It was an out of mind and out of body experience, and they were just. It was just like a different person. And when my dad got on stage, he really was just a different person. He just lit up, and he loved it. He absolutely loved it. So in 68, not shortly after that, retired, left Sausalito, went up to Oregon. After about, I think, 15, 16, 17 years in Oregon, he moved back down to San Diego, and he was floundering a little bit. He really didn't quite know what to do with his time, so he got a job at a bar called Boula's in Coronado. Now, Nick Reynolds as a bartender is like a fox in a hen house. It's not necessarily the best combination. So what happens is that he calls up my brother, Mikey Marvin, and he says, "Mikey, I'm floundering, what do I do?" And Mikey says, "Well, call Bob up and ask him if you can go back and sing with George and Bob." I said, "Oh no, I can't do that. Well, shortly after that, he's at Boula's. Bob told me this story. He's at Boula's. He's making margaritas. The phone rings. They said, "Hey, it's somebody for you." And my dad's making the margaritas, and it's going, and it's Bob, and they have the conversation. And literally, my dad's hand went off the margarita blender. The margarita stuff went all over the bar, all over the patrons. And that was it. That was his last day at the bar. That was it. That was it. So it dissolved to maybe a month or two later, and I'm trying to think, I think this was around 1990, I was in my 30s, and I saw them in Glendale, and it was George, Bob, and my dad, and this was really kind of the first time that I'd seen them as an adult. You know, I was 8 years old when I did the Wishing That I Could Touch Him, and he had just lit up again. He was a new person. It was unbelievable to see. He was smiling, and I just I was blown away. So really what I want to do is I want to thank Bob and George for saving my dad's life. They brought him back and gave him a new life. And it's with great pleasure that I introduce Bob Shane.
What do you say?
He's got to come back and play with us. We don't
That's
get him.
right.
He doesn't get away that easy.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
First time I met Nick was the first time I met you when you were 14
I'm sorry.
at the ranch. We did it last time. You know it. Join us.
Good news, Jerry, it's coming. Good news, good news, Jerry, it's coming. Good news, good news, Jerry, it's coming. And I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, hallelujah, Jerry, it's coming. Good news, Jerry, it's coming. Good news, Jerry, it's coming. And I don't want it to leave me behind.
There's a long white robe in the heaven I know.
There's a long white robe in the heaven I know. There's a long white robe in the heaven I know. And I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming. And I don't want it to leave me behind.
There's a starry crown in the heaven I know.
There's a starry crown in the heaven I know. There's a starry crown in the heaven I know. And I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, hallelujah. Good news, chariots coming. Good news, hallelujah. Chariots coming. And I don't want it to leave me behind.
There's a golden harp in the heaven I know.
There's a golden harp in heaven I know.
There's a golden harp in the heaven I know.
And I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming. And I don't want it to leave me behind.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, Bob.
Can I come play with you, Bobby? Sure. Oh, boy. Remember one thing in life, any one thing.
Hey, can I add a little bit to what Josh said? You know, when you and I called up Nick and asked him if he'd like to
Yeah.
come back into the group,
Yeah.
we went to the bar, Bula's, on Orange Avenue in Coronado one evening. We had rehearsed that day, and rehearsal consisted of sitting around smoking, and having a few drinks here
Yeah.
and there along the way. And then we packed the instruments back up. We hadn't really touched them that much. But we went down to Bula's with our instruments, and we sat outside. And there were about, 5 or 6 or 7 of our friends who were there, because Bula's was the place to be. And they kind of stood around, and we started singing a few songs, and then more people gathered, and more people gathered. We must have had about 100 people or so outside just listening. And the next day, people called up Nick and said, "Hey, we hear that you guys were singing down at Bula's. Why didn't you call us?" And Nick's response was, "It was a happening. Either you were there or you weren't."
Yeah. Yeah. Here's a song that I've done approximately 17,000 times. And at least half the time I know it.
Wisconsin sun. But in your eye, baby, do I feel high of me? Oh my, do I feel high? Dry martini, jigger and gin. Oh, what a spell you got me in. Oh my, do I feel high? People won't believe me. They'll think that I'm just bragging. I could feel the way I do and still be on the wagon. All I need is one of your smiles, the sunshine of your eyes of me. Oh my, do I feel high as a kite and fine? Give me loving, baby, I feel high.